Did you guys see that yesterday, how Stegner started gasping for air on lands? I'm missing a lot of clips that weren't even prepared this morning. And above all, just now, I'm wondering what was that yesterday? Election advertising a la Saskia Esken, who managed to double the blues right away. We'll take a look at that this morning, and feel free to write down below if you saw it yesterday, or if you say ARD and Zweites Deutsches Fernsehen. I don't even bother with that anymore.
It's not out of malice or satisfaction, since you don't wish for that at all. If they don't pay attention, they won't reach the 5% threshold in Saxony-Anhalt this fall. Doesn't that make you pause and reconsider? Obviously, people don't believe us. Obviously, it's not working. We're on the wrong track. What are we actually doing wrong?
I think that sometimes we leave these topics to the populists. I think that the language we use is often one that citizens don't understand. I think that
Did he seriously just tell us that we're too dumb to understand this language? Okay, I don't know if you're including yourself in that, but I'm probably definitely too dumb to understand what the SPD is saying. But what I'm not too dumb for is, do you remember Ludwig Erhard's era? I wasn't born yet. That existed back then too. Back then, the SPD demanded, get ready for this, to hand out clothing, textile, style coupons, and also food coupons, just like the Germany basket today. Yes, and Ludwig Erhard was furious back then and said, this party needs to be put in the pillory for that. Things were a bit different back then than they are today. That would truly be a disgrace. And as a result, the economy absolutely exploded back then. Of course, there were several other factors involved, which I don't want to discuss all of here right now. But then let's move straight on to the next one.
If politics waits for verdicts before acting, it's already too late. We must prepare now for what's coming and foreseeable.
You have the state elections in mind.
The Federal Constitutional Court will likely ask why.
Doing this now because of the state elections?
No, during the federal election campaign, we shared our plans on this topic, and that's exactly what we're now doing.
Don't wait for the Federal Constitutional Court's ruling.
Then Mr. Lanz would ask why politics only reacts when Karlsruhe records something? Or others would say that. We don't do that. We think ahead and make plans.
Quote Ekel Eifried. You probably saw it on New Year's Eve. The Social Democrats are not fundamentally stupid. They just have trouble thinking. That's how the quote is accurately rendered. Yeah, well, even Lanz had to laugh at that. No, that's just cheap election propaganda. And I think everyone here in Germany knows that. And I'm absolutely sure that every one of you out there sees it the same way. This is really just about cheap election campaign propaganda, nothing more. And even the Tagesschau viewers and even the Zweites Deutsches Fernsehen viewers, by the way, now see it the same way, just like Olaf Scholz and Saskia Esken. Well, now we're about to get into a topic that, I really have to say will put Stegner in absolute trouble. And I'm about to show you a few clips where he really had to swallow hard and where he really had to grit his teeth to keep from completely losing it.
So I look at the Social Democrats with a certain concern, and I'm afraid they've lost their strategic minds.
That's tough.
A harsh judgment.
That's easy to do. That's not just a harsh judgment. In my opinion, it's also a really wrong judgment. The point is, you must be able to afford to talk about justice like that.
Did you pay attention to his hands? But you have to be able to afford that too. We're going through tough times. We need so much money for armaments. And last year, yes, I just want to mention it. Did this budget fail because of 3 billion? And this time, even with 1 trillion, they can't manage what we really need to relieve the budgets. Again, I'd like to come back to Ludwig Erhard. Of course, he wasn't, or today he's only seen as the architect of the economic miracle. But back then, there were also many, many smart minds who, by the way, were still right-wing conservatives at the time, and I would say implemented very tough austerity measures. But they also informed the citizens about what to expect. And I really have to say, the citizens back then were not so whiny, but we all still know them. Yes, they really pitched in back then. Why? They were told the truth.
If you look around the world, it's really not that bad, because here, in some ways, we're really complaining at an extraordinarily high level. Most people in Germany are still relatively well off, if I compare it. When I'm abroad, people often say, "We wish we had your problems, just not the complaints, Mr. Stegner." That's nonsense. No, Mr. Lance, it's not nonsense. My grandparents would have also said, "We wish we had your problems," but that's nonsense.
Now we could go way back and say, back then in the cave, it wasn't pleasant either.
Tells us the party that stands for social justice, the one that has always told us throughout our lives, you have to work, build yourself a house, and then you'll be happy in retirement. And now they go and say, yes, the others are to blame. Putin is to blame. Trump is to blame. Iran is to blame. Islam. No, he's definitely not to blame. He's always above everything. Christians and the Pope are blamed now because he called for no more firewalls. I'll comment on that shortly. There was a report I read from Hookah that shook me to my core. Is he planning to resign now? But I'll talk a bit more about that in a moment.
Our complicated, unfair sales tax law needs to change. We'll discuss it with the unions, so I'm not sure why there's so much excitement. We simply have to do that.
Ms. Mossbauer, can you also keep a poker face like that?
Even Lance had to laugh at that. Mittelberg explains it again. But I don't really want to show you that except for the scene where he's about to burst. Yeah, but what I have to tell you is where all this drama comes from. It's simple. The middle class is falling apart even more. And above all, that's the point. Now do the math yourself. You either pay taxes on your inheritance or you pay taxes for an exit tax. You can choose. And yeah, if you're a company and you have a lot of European partners, just think about what might be the smartest decision. Just like Mercedes, for example. Hey, let's just keep building the cars in Hungary because it's simply much better for us there. Yeah, or other companies that are leaving in droves or even filing for bankruptcy if this thing goes through as well. Yeah, the SPD doesn't differentiate between capital-tied money or private inheritance tax. They don't care at all. The capital-tied money just leaves. That means a lot less innovation, a lot less money that self-employed people have to put into their own companies. Man, that's a planned economy, and the Germany basket on top of it, man, you might as well just hand out food stamps right away.
We will start the year with joint proposals, so we would demonstrate unity and clarity to the outside as well. That would certainly be more favorable, and we will also have to talk about the issue of taxes, but of course we have to succeed in doing so. Overall, let's say, to set up a program that shows new growth opportunities for this country again.
I think I'll frame that expression on Stegner's face. Did you see it? That expression, it says more than 1,000 words because he knows that it's not possible with the union. By the way, why isn't it possible with the union? That's really the only thing. If they were to implement it like that purely theoretically, yes, then West and Gwenther would probably just barely go along with it. Yeah, they're kind of wired that way, but the rest of the Christian Democratic Union aren't. And then they go up in arms. Why? Because it would affect their own people. Well, who is in the Christian Democratic Union? Those are the business people, the big ones with the fat incomes, because they've been protected by the Christian Democratic Union for years, and Stegner knew that. And that's why they dragged it into New Year's as cheap campaign propaganda, which everyone knows by now. And after that rejection from Middelburg, by the way, I've talked to him before, that was here in Osnabrück. I don't know if you know him. He owns a very, very large bakery.
Not her, but her parliamentary colleagues in this chair promised it many times before the election. There will be no tax increases, they say now, and that is apparently the compromise formula. There will be no tax increases, none.
That's it, I promised you. Now we come to the statement where I really had to swallow. First of all, the fact that he didn't go into it any further, but instead had this long pause of silence. That already says it all. Höcke must have said it last week or the week before, between Christmas and New Year's. In a statement when I'm in between that, exactly those. Now, hold on tight. The alternative for Germany could move from the opposition to the governing party, especially after the election wins in Saxony-Anhalt or Mecklenburg-Western Pomerania. Then he would basically step down and withdraw as a scapegoat, an author, or rather leave the field to Wiebke. So now, with the latest statements from the Pope, the Christian Democratic Union actually has no other choice but to approach the alternative for Germany. He said he would take a couple with him, and he just quoted a few passages from his book again. That really made me think again, and I actually read those scenes out. He made it very clear in his book, I was always just the one who wanted to pave the way. If it really comes to that, he is happy to leave the field to others. And at the latest here, Wüst would have a huge problem. Statement from Höcker. He withdraws, takes a few other Alternative for Germany members with him who disappear into obscurity. And then the narrative of the firewall collapses, and at the latest then, Wüst is also forced to at least take a step forward, so it remains exciting in the political disaster.